Hello? Good morning. Oh boy, it is a lovely day today. Ah, and I actually do mean that this time. Um, it's like 60 degrees out, something like that. It's pretty good. Anyway, what's up? Yeah, streaming a little bit earlier than I otherwise would be, but yeah. Uh, Hopefully you guys are doing well. And I think I was able to fix the audio for from past two streams because went back to see the just like to watch see if like the audio is coming out okay, I guess, from those other streams, and it was a little quiet, but um should be good now. In fact, it might even be a little too good because I just saw the breakpoint there. Hold on. um, yeah. Okay. All right. Hello, 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 hello. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that things are all good here. And I think they are. So, all right. We have a couple things to talk about, right? Per the title. And then I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do. So let's bring up the first thing. Oh, I thought I had it already. All right, I'm gonna have to scroll the way down to get it. Yeah, this week has been pretty uh I mean, in the grand scheme of things, pretty uneventful. Usually every week there is a major like thing going on. Um there's always shit going on, what can I say? And we will start here. Okay, so Brianna Joy Gray, I have mentioned in the past on stream, and I was critical of the rhetoric that she employed when discussing Ukraine. I believe it was Ukraine. Um, I have criticized her in the past on multiple other occasions. I don't believe it was on stream, but regardless, I do not have a favorable opinion, I guess, of her. Um, Actually, no. What I was originally discussing um, with relation to Breonna Joy Gray was the Trump raid. I remember that. That was like a month ago, or maybe 2 months. I don't know. Time is a social construct. Um, but she recently was talking to an individual about Ukraine, and I felt it prudent to look at that and then provide my thoughts. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is a clip of a larger discussion, which I am not inclined to go to the Patreon and watch unless it's free. Oh yeah, fuck that. Yeah, fuck that, dude. We're gonna look at this clip. Now, this is a tweet that is or has been, because I did see it on her profile. It was pinned. So context here has already been accommodated for because I'm assuming that she wouldn't have included this in her profile or pinned it if she didn't think that she came off looking bad here. So we are going to take a look at what is going on here. And then, yeah, we'll go from there, I guess. Let me just check the audio levels.
Children, 500 just yesterday were shipped to Russia. And you
Okay, that should be good. All right. Let's take a look at what's going on.
They're stealing Ukrainian children. 500 just yesterday were shipped to Russia. And this is why we should be supporting them. We cannot allow this kind of evil to go unchecked, just on a basic moral reason. I mean, don't you agree with that?
I'm sorry, I don't. And here's
Okay, why? Why?
There are gangs that have overtaken Haiti. There is a cholera pandemic that was started by the UN. UN members raped Haitians. A third of Pakistan was underwater. Should we go due to the climate crisis? Should we go and invade China because Uyghurs are in concentration camps? Tell me.
Wait, hold on. For outside of the fact that this isn't answering the question, we there's like a line that you do draw at some point, right? Like the United States is not going to invade China because China's a global superpower. Um, just they're certainly not going to invade them for that reason. But I mean, if the pretext upon invasion is the Uyghur Muslim concentration camps, which there are, um, it would still be like the end of the world. So yeah, there's like a line that is drawn somewhere. And additionally, this is not even analogous to Ukraine because the United States is not invading or sending troops into Ukraine or Russia. So this. I don't even know what she's saying here. It's not comparable.
Tell me, articulate. This is the question that I asked Matt Duss when this war first started. Until you can articulate to me what the rationale is behind where America intervenes and where it doesn't, and give me some kind of moral accounting that makes me believe that it's actually about moral commitments and realizing how much of our money and our resources in the richest country in the world can.
Hey guys, breaking news. Nation states aren't morally determinable, or they don't make decisions based upon morality. They do it based upon self interest. I know this is like breaking news, right? But like yeah, I mean the humanitarian aid that we are disseminating to Ukraine is being conducted. I mean, for the most part, for geopolitical purposes. It's not because we're morally like against like invasions. Like, I think individually on an individual level, if you ask people, then yeah, they're going to say that they're against the invasion on a moral standpoint. But from a nation state standpoint, it's predominantly uh, being like we are providing aid to Ukraine predominantly for the sake of cynicism.
Go to saving lives and increasing the quality of life for the most people, as opposed to a strategic military intervention for territory, resources, and political control. If you can articulate to me why this is truly the most deserving humanitarian case on the planet, as opposed to a continuation of these Cold War policies, we want our economic system, our oppressive, by the way, economic system to maintain global dominance, then I can start to entertain a conversation about what our intervention should be, how long, and how much. But there is nowhere in the entire public sphere that that conversation is actually happening. And
So she's kind of dancing around the point that she really wants to make, which is that she doesn't believe that we should be providing aid to Ukraine at all because ultimately she doesn't see an issue with Russia conducting imperialism on their behalf. So this is really a roundabout way of advocating for that position because like she's bringing up all this shit. It's like none of it has to do with anything. Genuinely is irrelevant. Also, it's not comparable because she drew upon the China example of invading. Like it like yeah.
and nowhere close to a rationalization that's been presented.
Oh, okay. Um, so that's the clip, right? And she has been doing the rounds on it, and it's pretty disgusting, actually. So, um, you know, she's getting like she's getting like, you know, messages such as these, right? Which is um this part here should have been removed, but um the fascist part, I mean, kinda. I don't think that Brianna is an like actual fascist, but I do think that her ideology leads to the uh leads to lending credence to fascistic adjacent ideologies and policies, because you know, I think that like kind of like shrugging your shoulders and saying, well, what about the rest of the world? Why are we just helping Ukraine right now? Is, I mean, kind of an implicit endorsement of Russia imperialism. Um, but she has been receiving, I in no doubt believe that she has been receiving vicious and racist uh, backlash, which is fucked up because you should not be stooping to that in the first place. But additionally, it's irrelevant to the thing that you should be criticizing her for, which is her like prescription about this, like what her opinion is about this, right? Um, so yeah, there's been some of that, um, and she has stated, like she's just been going kind of like she's just been like clout sharking from this discourse. Like it's so obvious because, like, for example, I already tweeted this here, but like, okay, if we go like to this tweet of hers, so she's leaning into the woke mob is canceling me, blah blah blah, right? Um, and then she links her Patreon here, but she's also done this, right? Linking her Patreon to like multiple other tweets, like not just a couple, like a lot of them. And it's highlighted, or I try to highlight some of it here. Like one of them, she links the video, which is basically just linking the Patreon because it's a Patreon link. Um, here, this is not so much going to the Patreon, but it's going to the Hill, which is like one of her employers, and links it again here from a different thing. I mean, like, and then again, well, that's the same thing actually, but yeah, yeah, like you get the point. Like she, like complete clout farming from this, kind of fucked up, but unsurprising considering that she is a grifter. So like, she has the talking points, and you know, ideal or like the ultimate thing that she cares about really is just you know, grifting off of discourse and serving the interests of like Russia. So anyway, yeah, that's what's been going on there. It's pretty fucked up, you know. Um, yeah. I mean, like, I think that they just cry every day, dude. Like, they cry so much on Twitter. Like, it's insane how much they cry. They here, hold on. So this is another example of what I was talking about. They can't fire me. They can't censor me. So they're editing my wiki page. And look what the edit is, by the way. In November 2022 interview, she advocated against preventing the genocide of Ukrainians by Russia, specifically for the deportations of Ukrainian children to Russia. When asked, we cannot allow this kind of evil to go unchecked. Do you agree? She replied, I'm sorry, I don't. This is verbatim what happened. And she is taking it upon herself to frame it as though they are editing her wiki page to make it like to misrepresent her, like what she said. This is verbatim what she said, and there's even a citation there. I mean, if I cared enough, I would go in there and I guess look. But and then she links to the fucking Patreon. Yeah, like this is like complete clout farming. Like that's what it is. Like there's absolutely nothing here that is inaccurate. but she's mad because it was added to her wiki page because it makes her look bad. She just doesn't want to take accountability for what she said. And then she has the gall to frame it as though it was a dishonest representation and then linked her Patreon. Like, it's disgusting, actually. So, look, this is what happens when you're a grifter, okay? You care more about the monetary benefit associated with participating in discourse than you do about, like, the discourse itself. But like every day, as I mentioned, these people are crying about Ukraine. Like, why do we have to give money to Ukraine? You know, Ukrainian flag equals L. Like, they're so fucking triggered. It's insane. Like, I don't understand how you can see what's happening in Ukraine, right? If you're a lefty, and engage in the rhetoric that these people engage in. Not just Brianna Joy Gray, but like other individuals that are in like the Jimmy Dore like sphere. It's like because you denouncing the you denouncing the United States and Ukraine during this conflict, as it pertains to anything regarding this conflict, seems like it's um, abetting Russian imperialism to me at least, because you're focused on things that are like you know I don't know. It just seems like you're focused on the wrong things. Now, it doesn't mean that the United States is good or whatever, because obviously it's not. The United States has conducted imperialism itself, perhaps to a larger extent than Russia. But like, why does it have to be like? Why can't we just like condemn Russia? Like, do we really have to like say, but also the United States anytime anything is done bad from other global superpowers? Like it really is just come down to like American diabolism. Like they are simply just anti United States hegemony. Like they don't care about anything, dude. They grift and they enjoy it because they make money off it. Make money off that discourse. Why am I not signed into YouTube? Oh boy. Okay, I don't know what's been going on recently, but like I keep getting logged off of shit. All right, good thing it's this. Oh shit, it's actually okay. Sorry, I have to log in. I hope that's right. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, sorry, that was weird. Right. What I wanted to do here is type in a correct thing. Okay. Oh shit. Do I really want to go down this path? Oh man, I don't know. I don't really have a lot to go over today, so I guess we could. No way. No way, dude. Okay, I gotta show you this. This was from 8 hours. So I was showing you tweets from like earlier this week. This is from 8 hours ago. She's still talking about this. Oh, this is, I guess, a longer thread here. But look at this. This is the tweet she's quote tweeting. People try to have fact-based debates on policy cannot possibly productively engage with these nihilists or hope that the exchange will clarify the issues. Policy and issues aren't the point with them. It's chaos and generating clicks, controversy, etc. So this is if this person is discussing or is talking about Brianna Joy Gray or alluding to her, which it might seem like it's the case. Yeah. Okay. So this might be the case because this is this. Okay. Yeah. I 100% agree with this, and this is kind of what I said just a moment ago with like the they don't actually care about this shit. It's mostly about the grift, and grifting off of discourse. This couldn't be any more exemplified from what Brianna Joy Gray did here. Like she could have not done anything, right? Because this person is obviously talking about like people like Brianna Joy Gray, who has recently been making the rounds on Twitter because she keeps retweeting and talking about it. Is being pumped through the algorithm by virtue of the fact that she's verified, and she links her Patreon again. Watch a fact-based debate on policy between myself and Joe. Hear and judge for yourself whether it is productive. So she links the YouTube video. Is it like debate? Okay, so it's a bad faith podcast, which honestly it's probably bad that I gave them a view here. You can find the full hour plus long conversation at Patreon. She's such a grifter. I'm sorry, but how can anyone look at this and not think that she's a grifter? Like, how? How can anyone believe she's genuine with what she is saying? She has dedicated almost a week now to discussing this drama, um, and has quote retweeted multiple different people with her Patreon in it, and has linked her projects in those tweets, and like she had the thing pinned to her profile, so I feel like she was the one who actually created this discourse. Like, honest to God, I think that's what happened. This is a complete grift here. This is why people should not be taking Brianna Joy Gray seriously. It's insane, man. Okay. Do I really want to watch this shit? She goes, okay, so if you don't know, she does work on the Hill, which is a pro-fascist um uh show, news show. Um and man, I guess she dedicates a whole segment here to whining about the backlash that she created. Uh God, do I really want to go into this? Whatever. Let's just watch a little bit, I guess.
Brianna, what's on your radar?
Well, Robbie, some simpering, warmongering liberals are getting.
Oh my God! Warmongering is when you send humanitarian aid to a country that was invaded by by a imperialist global superpower.
Pretty lost on Ukraine, and it stands to cost them a lot more than just midterms. You see, I got into trouble on Monday when, on my podcast, Bad Faith, I interviewed a national security expert and
Which she got in trouble for because she pinned it to her profile and nonstop talked about it.
former president of Plowshares Fund, Joe Cirinzioni, about his critique of the now infamous Congressional Progressive Caucus letter. In my eyes, the letter offered a mere glimmer of hope that the left wasn't going to completely concede its anti-war bona fides to the right, but Joe saw it differently, tweeting, "This isn't about the left or rejection of diplomacy. It is about a very small group with a very specific idea of how to force Ukraine to
Hey, that's the guy I just saw, I think. Pretty sure.
end the war. This is not diplomacy. It is great power politics. What Representative Raskin today called a, quote, colonial reflex. Now, of course, Nothing in the CPC letter articulated a specific idea of how to end the war, and it certainly didn't.
I'm sorry, but the CPC letter, I will admit that I have not read, but I don't think it's really relevant here because her comments about like Ukraine committing a genocide, or excuse me, Russia committing a genocide against Ukrainians, um, it stands by itself. I don't think the letter here is really the the point. Like the thing that I'm more, criticizing her for is the supposed complacency with regards to genocide.
Force Ukraine to end it on any timeline or under any specific conditions. In fact, the letter lauded Joe Biden's approach to the war and the billions.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at this this checkbox here thing. You're a fascist if you don't agree with me. Yeah, sure. If you are against the idea of sending aid to a nation that is currently being invaded by its neighbor, then yeah, I mean, like you probably are like at least fascistically leaning.
Appropriations Biden has sent via the Ukraine relief packages. But that didn't stop liberals from completely melting down. As a Vox write-up explained, even as many journalists and experts pointed out that much of the letter's contents echoed parts of President Joe Biden's own rhetoric or were otherwise anodyne, international affairs professor and Vox contributor Daniel Drinzer called it a giant nothing burger, piled on the members of Congress on social media and picked apart every word of it. And so, the courageous progressive lions at the CPC stuck to their guns and LOL, just kidding. Caucus leader Pramila Jayapal offered a correction before ultimately retracting the letter the next day. It was a pathetic move that led Tulsi Gabbard to say this completely, unimpeachably true statement on Tucker Carlson last week.
Defending Tulsi Gabbard, who was abated Tucker Carlson and other like fascist white supremacists. And she has the goal, by the way, to pretend that she's a lefty, or even like yeah, she acts like she's a lefty and is owning the libs, but she's really like a conservative.
Did a very simple thing that apparently can appear to be brave in Washington these days. In that letter to President Biden, they just told the truth about how this ongoing proxy war with Russia is.
It's not a proxy war.
Increasing in cost and consequences, both on the Ukrainian people, but also the American people here at home, and how it's negatively impacting gas prices, increasing inflation.
Well, that is Russia's fault because Russia invaded Ukraine, prompting the increase in gas prices to soar even further. Additionally, with the price of food exports, because of the fact that Ukraine is a major exporter of grain. So this seems more like on Russia than like the United States sending aid to help Ukraine, fight against Russia. Like yeah, we're kind of shifting the blame here.
Inflation and so on. These progressives in the letter.
And by the way, this is a little bit reductive because there's different reasons to why the inflation is so high right now. One of them is obviously the war in between Russia and Ukraine, but another big factor is the supply chains being jeopardized through COVID. We're still kind of recovering from that. So that's another big thing that's contributing to inflation.
Stop sending aid to Ukraine. Now, all they said was, hey, President Biden, engage in diplomacy. And the response they got, of course, from the warmongers who control the Democrat Party in Washington was to immediately be smashed to pieces, so much so that these Democrat members of Congress.
Look at this framing here. Dem Party is completely, so they're obviously quoting Tulsi here, but Dem Party is completely controlled by an elite cabal of warmongers. So this is a JQ dog whistle. Anytime you, just as a speed run strategy, by the way, anytime you see elite or cabal in the same sentence, or in different sentences, I guess, you can pretty safely assume that they're referring to Jews. This is a theme that I've noticed amongst conservatives for a while now. It's always leading down the same path. So just as a little like side note there, that's something that I personally noticed. But yeah, this is really specific language she's using, like elite cabal. It's like dripping of JQE,
Cowered in the corner with fear, and now have gone so far out of their way, apologizing profusely for having the audacity to call for diplomacy in this war that's putting us all at risk. And now,
and another thing to keep in mind is that the United States, as well as Ukraine, has has tried to make like ceasefire uh, talks. This actually has been going on for a little bit now, and they did so even before the war was initiated by Russia. But Russia, decided to invade regardless. So, I mean, what is there's no alternative. The alternative is to just appease Russia and let them roll the tanks into Kyiv, which I bet these people want actually. So, and actually, in fact, I'm convinced that that is what they want, because like they say that they need to negotiate with Russia, which they, by the way, they have been, but the negotiations or the preconditions that Russia wants is usually, at least the last time I've checked, has been like, oh, okay, we'll stop slaughtering your citizens if you give us the Donbass, if you never join NATO ever again, like in the future. Like, these are all conditions that are completely disqualified. Um, so yeah, maybe they do just want maybe they do just want Russia to take over all of Ukraine, because they want to stick it to the warmongers and the Democratic Party, right?
they've actually gone 180 degrees in the opposite direction. They're now trying to prove how much of a warmongers they too are by saying, no, don't engage in diplomacy. We don't want you to do that. This is exactly.
Wait, when did they say that? Can I get a quote or a source on that?
Tucker, one of the main reasons I left the Democrat Party. They are completely controlled by these warmongers in Washington. They don't really care about the Ukrainian people. Otherwise, they would have engaged in diplomacy many, many months ago.
Now, I certainly disagree.
Okay, nothing she said there was rational, grounded in reality, or reasonable in any extent. Like almost nothing she said there was like justifiable.
With Tulsi on plenty of things, but in that clip, I saw no lie, and because
Of course she didn't. Of course. See, like the thing is, like Brianna Joy Gray, this is what I mean. Like, not only is she a grifter, but she's also a conservative. She, it's really just about like being anti-Democrat to them, right? Because like the Democrats are pro, sending aid to Ukraine, and because she's against that, she'll adopt or she'll agree with everything that Tulsi says in that clip, because she's, I'm assuming, believes that all the things that she laid out there is all like equally valid or correct. But yeah, there, like I honest to God, like nothing she said there was accurate at all. Tulsi, that is.
I respect Joe Cirincione and am confident enough in my views and my intellect to engage with people who disagree with me, I invited him onto my podcast to discuss it with me. Here's how he responded to the Tulsi clip when I played it for him.
If you really believe, like I do and have been arguing for weeks, that Democrats are
Why are there
setting Tulsi up
captions?
to make that exact argument, I can't be mad at Tulsi. Tulsi didn't say a single untrue thing there.
Are you kidding me? It's one lie after the other. What are you talking
Name a lie.
Warmongers. The Democratic Party is called warmongers?
We're leftists. We obviously know and believe that the
Wait,
Democratic
hold on. She said we're leftists? Okay, this is coming from the person who advocates for imperialism here, right? I mean, she's endorsing Russian imperialism at every turn. If you really cared about fighting against imperialism, why would you be against sending like aid to Ukraine to defend themselves? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Party is controlled by warmongers. The deep state.
So is the Conservative Party as well. In fact, I would argue that the Conservative Party are probably even more hawkish on war than Democrats. Like, they think that warmonger means send aid to country that is being slaughtered by another country. Like, they think that is the equivalent of warmongering. I mean, I don't know. I honestly, God, like, what do you like? If you ask these people, what do you want? What do you want the United States to do with the Ukraine thing? What they will say is stop sending aid to Ukraine, come to the table with Russia, and concede everything to Russia, including the Donbass, and for them to never join NATO again. And then once that happens, in this world that they want, when that happens, a couple years down the line or some arbitrary amount of time in the future, Russia will do this again, and they'll roll the tanks all the way to Kyiv, and they will take over. And then because why wouldn't they? They did that with Jordan. They did that with like multiple other countries. So they ultimately, this is just a like if you take everything that they want down to like the end of the road, what this ends up looking like is Russia controlling and occupying Ukraine and having the entirety of Ukraine in their control.
Knows no D or our party affiliation. Wait, this is like not even a controversial statement.
She even
The whole
lies
point
about
of
the
why we
name of
love
the party
Bernie Sanders.
because of the Democrat.
He had an issue with her calling the
Wait, hold on. Why didn't you let that play all the way through? Like, why did you only play that part?
the Democrat Party, like that was the real central concern here on the hearts and minds of Americans. Now, look, the interview was tough but cordial. We ended very warmly and on
cordial.
However, the next day on Twitter, Joe decided that he wasn't a fan of how people responded to his own words. And he accused me of, quote, weaponizing clips of him talking in our interview to, quote, attack him. He even threatened to abandon Twitter, opining that, quote, must control will make it even worse. Moreover, he said that I, quote, encourage supporters to post hundreds of insults and smears.
Wait, hold on. Does she think that a billionaire buying like a large social media platform and enforcing his own rules as like a petty dictator is like a good thing? Like, what? I thought she would be like against that, actually. As much of a Christian as she is, I would think that she would pretend to at least be against the idea of a billionaire exercising control over a social media platform. I mean, I guess I don't know for sure, but like the language she used there seems to suggest she doesn't have a problem with it.
Without correction. Now, I sincerely regret that he feels that way. I really did enjoy talking to Joe both times he came on my podcast. But here's the hard truth. Those insults and smears weren't encouraged by me. They were totally organic. People just hated his take. And here's why. Joe engaged in uncritical support for Pramila Jayapal, whom he described as a, quote, great progressive leader, even though she bungled the $15 minimum wage, the Nina Turner endorsement, and the Build Back Better bifurcation. He described Zelensky as, quote, one of the greatest leaders we've seen in a long time, and many of his comments came off as canned and almost jingoistic. He accepted the CPC's narrative that the letter was a staff mistake, and even though Representative Ro Khanna has publicly rejected that claim and stood by the letter, and even though...
Who gives a fuck what Ro Khanna thinks?
Blaming subordinates reflects incredibly poorly on leadership, he kept doing so. But, most importantly, Joe struggled to answer one fundamental question. What assurances are there that U.S. aid is motivated by a humanitarian drive toward peace rather than military adventurism? Especially
we're not going towards peace. Well, the degree to which we're operating under like this venture towards peace is by shelling every fucking Russian that they see that is attempting to take control over a Ukrainian city. So it's insofar as destroying their fleet and logistics, how that expedites the inevitable loss that Russia will incur. I think that is probably, I don't know, good. Like, it's not ideal that people die, but like, maybe Russia shouldn't invade it. I don't know.
After it was reported back in May that then Prime Minister Boris Johnson undermined peace talks. Given the United States' actions in Libya, where thanks to NATO intervention, there are now slave markets, Afghanistan, which we occupied for 20 years, and Iraq, which we invaded on false pretenses and killed 1 million people, I think it's a reasonable question.
No, it's not. So she's bringing up a bunch of other things that are not really related to Ukraine. This kind of demonstrates actually that she doesn't know why like the war was started in the first place and what the pretenses were leading to this war. There's a lot of there is if you really want to like argue the point to a death here, you can take this all the way like even during the Soviet Union, like that far back, like what is leading to this ultimate occupation here, or attempted occupation of Russia.
Russia has violated international law by invading Ukraine. But given America's past behavior, what assurances
Wait, hold on. Okay, wait, hold on. This is what I mean, though. So when we talk about the war that's happening between Ukraine and Russia, so she just said it here. She said that they violate international law. That's true. But in the next breath, like literally the next inhale, she had to include America. So no discussion can be made with regards to the Ukraine and Russia war without like implicating the United States. Like the degree to which the United States is involved in this war is predominantly one of which we are sending aid to, right? And it's not even just the United States; it's multiple different nations as well in Europe. So it's just interesting that she can't, that the United States has to come out of her mouth when she talks about this. Like our involvement is again just mostly sending aid to them.
Experts like Joe give us that the U.S.'s role here isn't pretextual. That was my only question. And I think it's a particularly necessary question, given that America regularly ignores humanitarian causes like the genocide in Rwanda or Bosnia. And since our own president and State Department officials keep saying that their goal is to weaken Russia, a goal that is not quite the same as protecting Ukrainian people.
But what's the ultimate point of discussing this, though? Because it's obvious to me that that nation states are self-interested. So, like, caring about the Rwanda genocide from a nation state standpoint doesn't make sense. From a moral standpoint, it makes perfect sense because human life is something we need to preserve. But from a nation state standpoint, why the fuck would the United States give a shit about Rwanda?
Borders. Here's how I put it to Joe.
They're stealing Ukrainian children. 500 just yesterday were shipped to Russia.
By the way, I cannot believe she is including this clip when it makes her look fucking terrible.
And this is why we should be supporting them. We cannot allow this kind of evil to go unchecked, just on a basic moral reason. I mean, don't you agree with that?
I'm sorry, I don't. And here's
Okay,
why.
Why?
There are gangs that have overtaken Haiti. There is a cholera pandemic that was started by
All right,
the
we already watched this.
entertain a conversation about what our intervention should be, how long, and how much.
Now you can watch a free 30-minute clip of that interview over at the Bad Faith YouTube channel or subscribe.
Okay, she's doing it again. Guys. She's doing it again. She's plugging her shit like she has been all over Twitter. Please give me money. Please give me money. That's like literally like hat in hand, like a beggar.
Patreon to watch the whole thing. But for now, you'll have to trust me when I say I never offered a satisfactory explanation, at least not in my view.
I do not trust you. And I am not going to give you money to unlock the secrets behind that video to know if that's true.
As you heard, he attempted to use abuses against children and emotional ploy so common and trite that it's literally a meme.
Wait, hold on. Are you kidding me right now? So do you not think that this is something that is happening? Because it is happening, and you like appealing to the fact that he's engaging in sophistry here is kind of actually fucked up. That would be like if if in World War II, like you're arguing against U.S. involvement by saying like, well, why are you appealing to my emotions that like there are Jews being gassed? Like, what is wrong? Like, that is like something so trite and like cliche. It's like a meme at this point. Like, what is wrong with this woman? This is actually pretty fucked up.
To shame me into dropping my legitimate concerns. And although many blue checks are at this
Wait, again, this is something that would have been made by people who believe her, like, her perspective. But, like, wow. So she really doesn't actually give... So she's really just, like, dismissing the whole, like, genocide part and saying that anybody who is making that point is really engaging in appeals to emotion.
Very moment accusing me of rolling my eyes at genocide. I was, in fact, rolling my eyes at Joe using such a cliched argument to avoid the fundamental question.
Well, I care about human life. You don't. And he seems to have been taking issue with that. So I think that, you know, his response as well as the response of other people are more than justified, given your response.
Why save these women, these children, but not these ones? Now, it's worth noting that some fact checkers have disputed Joe's account of kidnapped Ukrainian children.
So again, she's trying to make this moral argument when it doesn't even like apply because, like as I mentioned already, nation states are self-interested. They don't give a fuck about morality. So the reason why you see parts like involvement with the Ukraine war from the United States and not with like Yemen is because the United States makes money from selling weapons to Saudi Arabia that is used on Yemenis citizens. And in the Ukraine element, they have geopolitical interest in having Ukraine become not just a member of NATO, but also an autonomous nation state, one separate from Russia. So it's self interested. That is the point. But that doesn't mean that us calling both of these things out on an individual level is a bad thing. We should be doing that, and we should criticize the United States for its hypocrisy. But it's just like it feels like she's lumping in morality to a dynamic that where it doesn't even apply.
But even if we accept it on its face, as I did in the interview, and as much as my heart aches for human suffering everywhere, a humanitarian crisis in Ukraine does not get to the question of why and to what extent America should play the world's policeman. And if it does adopt the role as global cop, why are we only choosing to police certain neighborhoods? 2.2 million Yemeni children under the age of 5 are starving.
Man, she just doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. I mean, I hate to belabor the point here, but it's there's a difference between having morality from an individual perspective, right? And like I'm running out of ways to explain this, but basically, the United States, as is the case with other nation states, are self-interested. They make money from selling weapons to Saudi Arabia, which is why they're not involved in Yemenis shit. And they have geopolitical there are geopolitical interests with preserving Ukraine as a nation state, and keeping it away from the Eastern Bloc of influence. So we, as an individual, can call out both things, and it seems like she's acting like we wouldn't do this, or that he wouldn't do, the person she talked to wouldn't do this. I don't know. Liberals. I'm sure if you presented this information to liberals, they would unequivocally deny or denounce the shit that's happening in Yemen. Certainly that would be the case with lefties. I mean, look, the United States is bad, as is all nation states, but it's just weird. Like the way she's going about like navigating through this argument in this, it doesn't make sense to me.
Right now, as a result of a Saudi-backed war, the United States has sent $4.5 billion in humanitarian aid to Yemen since the beginning of the conflict 7 years ago. Compare that to the $40 billion aid package that went out the door earlier this year. And while words like evil are used frequently to describe Putin, Saudi princes are apparently off the hook. Joe Biden flew to Saudi Arabia to fist bump the architect of the tragedy in Yemen and beg him for oil so that Biden could keep control of Congress.
Well, yeah, yes, and like what? They're a nation state. They don't give a fuck. They're trying to make money.
This is an article from September. Did you even know that 500,000 children are at risk of dying in Somalia from hunger?
Yeah, there's a lot of fucked up shit going on in this world. Like, yeah, yes, 100%, yes.
Selective outrage is deafening.
Wait, hold on. Selective outrage. Are you ascribing this to liberals? Because I feel as though this information would have been denounced. This would be denounced by liberals too.
I will say this: when pushed, some people, including Joe, offer up a rationale that is closer to the truth. Joe argued that America must be involved in this conflict to protect the, quote, geopolitical global order, saying, quote, you cannot allow a nation by force to change the boundaries of Europe. You haven't seen that since the end of World War II. Well, I think Palestine might have a little something to say about.
Oh my God, what is with this supposed hypocrisy? Why is she thinking people wouldn't call this out? What the fuck? Now, to be fair, in this case, I think liberals would. There's more of a proportion of liberals who would be pro-Israel in this case. But like, with like lefties and people who are denouncing it, like, what does this have to do with Ukraine? What the fuck?
Who we allow to change borders, but in fairness to Joe, he did specify Europe for some reason that I'll decline to interrogate here. Still, I'm old enough to remember the breakup of Yugoslavia. Borders do change, even in Europe. The reason being that they were poorly drawn borders that failed to accommodate the ethnic tensions and allegiances of the region in the first place.
So, on this point, I will agree with her on. And it's not just in Europe, though. It's also with India and Pakistan, or Pakistan. I know that their border disputes have been problematic as well. So, but that's mostly driven through the ethnic, tensions there. So, yeah, that is true.
familiar? Now, again, I have not said a thing about what I think Ukrainians should do. Remember, this whole conversation was about me defending a
Well, you have to a degree, only implicitly though. I mean, you kind of argued that they should just roll over and let Ukraine like stomp them as they walk to the capital of Kyiv.
letter that generically said, hey, give peace a chance. Not one that says Ukraine must give up the Donbass to Russia. But despite this mild pushback
Wait.
against the war machine, Democrats have accused me of being an isolationist.
Wait, hold on. She just touched upon something that would have challenged my point earlier. So I presume that she would have been okay with like coming to the table with peace talks and ceding the Donbass to Russia, but she seems to not think that. I mean, that's a good sign, but like a lot of our other shit's stupid. Hold on.
And a subhuman fascist. They've accused me of, quote, promoting genocide and wanting inaction on Ukraine. Former Ukraine ambassador to Austria called me a reptile for, again, simply asking what the end game was to a conflict we should all hope will end. Another former Ukrainian ambassador described me as embodying the banality of evil. And one user posted this image. Well, I'll leave you to interpret what exactly that's all about. All this for defending a letter that stated the obvious.
Yeah, that's fucked up. Nobody should be doing that because they should be criticizing your arguments, not your race.
The goal here should be peace. And this is where
But let's not lump all these fuckers in with the people who actually do provide reasonable pushback against your dumbass arguments.
Gave the game away.
One of the points of the letter is they want the U.S. to negotiate a ceasefire.
Well, eventually, doesn't everybody want there to be a ceasefire? Doesn't everybody want there to be the end of the war?
Yes, but then you go to the end of the letter and it says this is the primary aim of U.S. policy should be to end this war.
Should it not be?
If it's wrong to simply
Wait, why are you not going to show us response? What the fuck is this clip chimping?
ask.
That's the second time that's happened.
What hope should we have of the State Department with its incentives to invest in war?
Dude, that is such a dishonest and scummy thing to do. Because what they did here
should be to end this war.
Should it not be?
Look at what they include. They include the deep sigh, but not his response.
To simply ask about the path to peace, what hope should we have of the State Department with its incentives to invest in war? We'll work toward that end. Fighting to the last Ukrainian is what Russia said it wants. And while I suspect some Ukrainians might not love a plan that would put them all in the ground, it doesn't bother the blob. It's not their lives at stake, not their kids dying in the war. This is the critical point. Ukraine is not going to militarily defeat Russia.
Why would you say that? Wait, seriously, honest question. Why would you think that it is? At first, when the war first started, I would have more inclined to agree with this sentiment, but I don't think so anymore. I mean, this is a war that Russia claimed would be over in like a week or two, but is prolonged to, we're coming on to a year now of it. Like, this should have been a swift thing from a supposed global superpower, but the aid that is being provided from the West, as well as sanctions and shit, have crippled the Russian military, and like, why would you think that this is a foregone conclusion at this point? Because if Russia wasn't able to like take over Ukraine, or at the very least the eastern part of Ukraine, this quickly, then I don't think they ever will. In fact, I believe that recent advances from the Ukrainian military has pushed back Russia further east.
Not come as a shock to you. Russia is a nuclear-capable superpower. Ukraine is not.
They're not going to use nukes on Ukraine.
Here's former special advisor to the UN Secretary General, Jeffrey Sachs, on this very point.
And they're getting wrecked, by the way, Russia is.
Because the United States seems militarily to believe that they will defeat Russia. Russia is a country with considerable firepower, to say the least, and with...
Are they, though? Because they seem to be getting destroyed by little Ukraine.
1,800 active nuclear warheads.
What? Okay, why does that matter? They're not going to use nukes. They keep bringing it up like it's like their ace in the hole.
So all of this talk of defeating Russia, to my mind, is reckless. But at my age, I'm 67. I've lived through decades of reckless U.S. foreign policy, U.S. bravado, and I'm afraid that we're at it again.
A lot of what the United States does is bad, but some of it isn't. And I think that that's nuance that these people like to forget.
This is why it makes no sense to say that America has no right to weigh in on the end of this conflict. In fact, that framing actually is all wrong. It seems obvious that Americans have a right to weigh in on where their money is going. And yet I've seen the following
I'm perfectly fine with my money going to help people who are in a war-torn country. Yeah.
all over the place. Why do some Americans think that they're so special and unique that we have an obligation to prove anything to them / convince them? Self-obsessed and selfish much? I'm sorry.
Aren't you kind of like describing yourself though? Because like you don't want you don't want your money going to those what does she say? Those blonde hair, blue-eyed Ukrainians? Um yeah, like you I think you're the one who's being selfish here.
Sorry, but the world doesn't revolve around you, said one.
I agree.
Man, it's
Yeah.
literally our tax dollars. And if you don't want any input on how you fight Russia, I totally get it.
But again, I'm perfectly fine with my tax dollars going to help people who wake up every morning hoping that a mortar doesn't land in their home. Like, I'm totally fine with that. Yeah. Are you not, Brianna Joy Gray?
America has certainly done enough meddling in Ukraine for a lifetime. But now that U.S. money is involved, you can't
Has Russia not done meddling in Ukraine as well? And also, this is already dishonest framing. Yeah.
Possible end or diminishment of U.S. aid as coercive in and of itself. When Democrats do this, they give Kevin McCarthy license to credibly argue that Democrats are presenting Ukraine a blank check. What else can you call it if discussing any prospective limit or on U.S. aid gets you named a genocide denier? Again, at no point did I.
That's not why you were called a genocide denier.
The CPC letter actually say that aid should be withdrawn. But if asking questions about a diplomatic plan to end the war makes Democrats call you a vile you-know-what?
So people on Twitter.com who called you names are akin to all Democrats?
Is there any wonder that the right is seen as a more hospitable place for peace movement?
What? Oh my god. I can't, man. I can't do this politics anymore. Oh no. I can't do it. Oh my god. I fucking hate politics so much.
Someone just tweeted it.
Thank God that was the end. Are we gonna keep it? Oh, by the way, she didn't mention actually something that I think is relevant here, and actually pretty revealing about her feelings towards Ukrainians. Let me see if I can find it, because this is actually like fucked up. Hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go down here a little bit. This was like the first thing I saw about the discourse. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, this is it. Yep. So let's provide the context behind this conversation before we go into it. Okay. I'm sorry to like belabor this like segment here, but like it's like important to me. So yeah, she tweeted here, this is Ukraine's former ambassador to Austria. He's talking about like whatever, right? But like if we move on to this conversation, when you roll your eyes at the mention of kidnapping children, that's generally what you can expect. And then, you know, they just go down a little bit here. And then you have somebody with the Ukraine flag who is also, I believe, a Ukrainian citizen. The rationale has been provided. It's just not enough for you. But also, at any given time, U.S. is fueling money into different forms of aid all over the world. What is the rationale that now you're so concerned about why Ukraine and not locally? It's one thing to raise an issue as a broad problem of domestic foreign policy. It's another to explicitly, repeatedly platform and argue against supporting Ukraine. This is objectively based and true. How is it any different than the people screaming we shouldn't take refugees because we have our own problem? Like, yeah, this is exactly the same here, like the same kind of thinking. Because people who believe that we should not take in refugees are arguing on the basis that, well, we have our own mouths to feed and we have our own problems. This is the same thing that people who are against sending aid to Ukraine are doing. And then she says, my people are facing annihilation of our country, language, and life, and you cannot help with no net, and you can help with no net negative, and your response is not good enough reason for me. If you can't see why that's upsetting and ghoulish, then there really is. Okay, so everything this person said, by the way, the Western left is so bad in Ukraine, but I believe like in Europe, like European lefties are a lot better on this, and people who, within Ukraine themselves, lefties in Ukraine are like, you know, pretty critical of people like Breonna Joy Gray. So like the entire world basically is against people like this that share Breonna Joy Gray's ideology. Because fundamentally, it's not even leftist leaning or anti-imperialist. It's really just like pro-Russia. But her response here was a shocker. She says, I am sorry for your people, actually. The question is to what degree Americans should fund their defense. And my answer to this question is like as much as they need. I'm totally fine with my tax dollars, again, helping Ukrainians. Yeah. Do you care? And then this is the part that's rich here. Do you care about what mine are going through? Okay, typo. Or are we still in the blonde-haired, blue-eyed victims matter more phrase of humanitarianism? So what she's saying here is that, so she brings into the discussion a racialized dynamic where it doesn't exist. So she's basically saying here, I believe, that United States only helps white countries and never helps like brown or black countries. And this is totally dismissive of the things that our Ukrainians are going through at this moment in time. Like, completely dismissive of that fact. And I kind of said it here, and I'll just say it again. So she's really just not sorry about anything, and that the U.S. taxpayer providing humanitarian relief to a country under invasion is going through less than Ukrainian citizens living day to day, crossing their fingers that a mortar doesn't land at their homes. And yeah, I mean, like, this is a disgusting take from Breonna Joy Gray, and I'm unsurprised that she didn't include this. But like, it's funny, like she wants to engage in the whole like, you know, like people are being mean to me on Twitter thing, but then she goes right around and, I mean, I would argue that this goes beyond being rude and is just, um, like, I don't know, what's the next level beyond rudeness? I don't know. I honestly don't even know, but this is like worse. And this is, by the way, this is kind of like a fascistic line of thinking. I already mentioned it, but the fact that she is engaging, she's basically proving this person's point, by the way, because this person mentioned like we won't take in refugees because we have our own problems. And then she goes right back and says that basically, do you care about what mine are going through? So she's like proving the point here. Anyway, this is she was this is like this is as bad as it gets, honestly, to me. And if anybody had any sort of hesitation with regards to calling Breonna Joy Gray a grifter, I think that can be very well settled at this point. I mean, she has linked her Patreon all over the place on Twitter. She is dismissing the victimization of Ukrainians. She's crying about her money or her taxes going to funding, you know, humanitarian relief to Ukrainians as well. Like what else? What's left on the bingo card here? Like what else is she like everything she does is bad. Everything she has said or advocated for is bad. I mean, I don't fucking know, man. Okay. All right. What else is on the agenda? Let's talk about Pelosi shit. All right, let's do that then. I don't even know. So, do you guys know, like, Paul? I mentioned this last week, but Paul Pelosi was, so basically what's going on with that. Oh, God. Sorry. Basically what's going on with that is that there was a, actually, let me just pull up an article. That might be better. All right, let's do that. Go to news. The ads on this are terrible. Make sure it's not paywalled or anything. What the fuck? Oh, all right. So I mentioned this. Okay, so I talked about this last week, but the degree of conspiracy that has propagated since then from conservatives regarding the Paul Pelosi attack has been, needless to say, what, deranged? What's a good adjective to use? Yeah, let's just like read what's right. So there's more details that come out. I guess let's just read that first. Okay, Paul Pelosi awoke twice in the early hours of October 28th. The first time he groggily discovered a hammer-wielding intruder in his bedroom asking for his wife, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The second time he regained consciousness in a pool of his own blood, had suffered a fractured skull grappling with the assailant in front of police. State and federal prosecutors who charged the suspect, David Pepe, 42, of Richard, California, with attempting to murder Paul Pelosi, said he was on a suicide mission threatening to kneecap Nancy Pelosi and hunt down other unspecified public officials, according to court documents. He was released from the hospital. He's being held, so DePepe is being held on San Francisco County Jail, faces 13 years to life. He is pleading not guilty. That's really bizarre, by the way. Federal prosecutor. Is he going to argue insanity? Why would he plead not guilty, actually? Let's see here. Oh shit, did they have like receipts for this? Oh my god, there's a whole like rabbit hole. Like there's so much conspiracy out there that like there's a whole thing dedicated to debunking like false claims. Yeah, this person. Can I get like information regarding this person? So, from my understanding, DePepe, the assailant in this crime, was like a super far right guy, and there are going to be narratives out there from like Fox News that say he's actually Antifa or something stupid. But I mean, the so far the investigation has unearthed the fact that he has, um, you know, shared videos from like far right content creators, as well as browse different forums like alt right forums, like very conspiracy brained this person is. Um, wow, they're just going in detail about this. I don't know if it's like worth even reading. But anyway, the long and the short of it is this: the conservatives have argued that there's a lot of details to this story that are like fuzzy, or like that like Paul Pelosi was like having sexual intercourse with this guy and it got hairy, and like the guy tried to assault him. I don't fucking know. Or that like he tried to like peruse like different gay bars in the city like Paul Pelosi was. Like I honestly, like, it's so like out of touch with reality that like it's hard for me to even like remember all the conspiracies around this. But regardless, here, so before I play this clip, just to say something about this, like, I think what's gonna happen for a long period of time here, is that whenever things happen like this, it's going to make, like, conservatives are going to throw out so many different false claims that they are it's going to make people second guess what is and isn't true. And then at that point, people are going to be more susceptible to far right propaganda. Because keep in mind, far right propaganda is predicated upon the exploitation of certain cognitive biases that we all are susceptible to, right? I guess you can argue that's the same with any propaganda, but like with far right propaganda, it's a little unique because they have openly adopted conspiracy brained bullshit, and that is an effective vehicle for moving people over into fairy, like fantasy world, like not like completely detaching them from reality. And I mean, QAnon is a proud fucking belief that many conservatives adopt. So I guess the point here is that they have thrown out so many different false claims that the point of that really is to make people not know what is and isn't true. Because when that happens, then it levels the playing field for conservatives and the alt right to pull people to the alt right. Because like if you don't know what is and isn't true, then I think it just creates an environment where people are more susceptible to these cognitive biases. Additionally, I think that if there's so many different claims, I think that people, when they hear it, they are like they think, well, if there's all these different claims and people are saying it, then some of them has to be true, right? And that's kind of the bias that is being exploited with this. I mean, you have seen so many conspiracies propagated from conservatives in response to this Paul Pelosi attack. And conservatives are very effective in doing this. They're very good at orchestrating a large, massive disinformation campaign. And there might be several reasons to why that is the case. I think one of which being, this adherence to hierarchy and just like, towing the party line and shit. That's a big thing. But I think that conservatives generally are very effective in spreading misinformation as well as radicalizing people through the usage of conspiracy theories. And we have seen this with this Paul Pelosi attack. And if you look at how, like, ultimately, like, do they give a fuck if Nancy Pelosi gets assassinated? No, they genuinely don't care. In fact, let's look at this clip here from Majority Taylor Greene talking about the Paul Pelosi attack and see what the response is from the crowd.
Americans are robbed, stabbed, raped, kidnapped, carjacked, and murdered. But the only crime victim you hear about from Democrats and the media is Paul Pelosi.
So the framing here is establishing that the mainstream media run by Democrats are focusing on just Paul Pelosi to make it seem like they are the ones who are the true victims, when in fact the actual victims are people like Majority Taylor Greene, and those who share her ideology, so conservatives.
Paul Pelosi was brutally attacked by a drugged-out illegal alien.
So again, we're priming a little bit here. So the first thing she says is that a drug, just say drug-addled? Well, someone who's on drugs, so this implies that they were not in their right mind. And a legal alien, that has a whole other range of connotations associated with it. What else does she use?
That should have been deported. And Paul Pelosi should have been a gun owner. And
so we bring into so in this like 10-second time frame, we've introduced three different dynamics here. one, illegal alien shit, illegal immigration shit, gun ownership, and the fact that they were drug addled. So I guess you could look at this in two different ways. Like, they live in California, so like they're light on crime, so they're more likely to get their hands on drugs or be released from jail for having drugs or something, or that he was not in his right mind. So even if we do somehow prove beyond a reasonable doubt that yes, he was a far right person, that he wasn't like he didn't have his wits about him, so it's okay. Like, there's so like it's like this is really shit that people are not going to catch up or catch on to. Like, when they hear this, they hear all these different words, and some of it's going to fly right by them. But there's so much propaganda in just 10 seconds here that like you can miss it so easily.
Shot his attacker. Where Americans
are... Oh, that's a whole clip. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, like, they just want... They are pro... they're pro-assassination of their political foes. Conservatives are. Because let's just pretend for a second that Nancy was there and she was murdered. Would the conservatives come out and said, oh my God, although we have our disagreements, we have no place for that in our country. Like, do you think they're really going to say that? No. The thing that they would have said instead was that California, wherever they were residing in, is riddled by crime that were enacted through policies of her that through Nancy Pelosi and advocated from her. So she reaps what she sows, right? I mean, she's also against, the Second Amendment, and she's like a commie or whatever. So like, she reaps what she sows. She could have shot the guy. They could have killed him, but they got to her first. So what are you gonna do? That is what the narrative would have been if Nancy Pelosi was actually assassinated. Because like, they don't give a fuck. You really think these people care if Nancy was murdered? This is to their political benefit. They don't give a flying fuck if she was killed. We also have this clip from Tucker Carlson, which I saw like a couple seconds of, but they go into the Pelosi thing as well. We'll see how this turns out.
Stand up and defend. I'm outraged for Nancy Pelosi.
Oh shit.
This woman has taken the hard-earned money she's made from insider trading and invested in a...
I know it's a little hard to hear, but just gonna have to deal with it.
Cans at 82 years old and comes home to find out that her husband's playing hide the hammer with a Black Lives Matter guy?
Okay. So first off, he wasn't a Black Lives Matter guy. He was a far right, conspiracy brained, like insane person. And also they weren't playing a game as was insinuated by this person. Like, what the fuck is he talking about?
You talk about disrupting the nuclear family. The Black Lives Matter crew must be ecstatic because this guy's doing it, and so is Paul Pelosi. I'm upset for Nancy. She spent her hard-earned money on a pair of kids, and he's not interested.
I don't understand. Okay, this might be a waste of my time. Okay, hold on.
Of course, we can't confirm or deny your suggestion, but I must say I did notice that the second people started speculating about what might have really happened, which we are not doing and haven't done, but some have, because in the absence of the body cam video, why wouldn't they? I saw these liberals on Twitter saying it's disgusting that you would suggest there was anything alternative going on. I thought they were defenders of the alternative. When did that become immoral?
What? What does he mean, the alternative? Is he referring to something that I'm not aware of? Perhaps a dog whistle?
In the eyes of the Democratic Party.
Tucker, I don't want to put you in a tough spot, but I got to correct you again. Are you suggesting that my information that she spent her money on a pair of cans, are you saying that's bad information? I've seen a lot of evidence. I feel real comfortable.
All right, this is a waste of my time. All right. Yeah, so basically overall just like making light of a, attempted assassination attempt. Like, can you imagine if this happened like 10 years ago to a conservative? Like, if someone came and tried to break into the home of a, just like the third in line to the president and try to assassinate them and they make light of it this much. I mean, like I don't even want to say secretly. They just openly want her dead and don't give a fuck. Oh no. Okay, and then there's another. All right. And then we have another clip here.
Hit with a hammer, it's like the worst thing imaginable. It's quite common now. So everybody feels, obviously, pain thinking of an 82-year-old man being hit with a hammer. It's
Yes, any rational, empathetic person would feel the same.
the worst thing imaginable. It's quite common now. But
it's not common. Also, do you have a source of that? Perhaps some data for hammer attacks from the UCR or something like that?
But why should the rest of us sit here and accept obvious inconsistencies in a story that has public policy implications?
Well, anytime something is first developing an investigation, there might be some inconsistencies because there is conclusion or there is evidence that comes out later that can contradict initial presuppositions. So this is the case with any investigation. There's really nothing that's shocking about that. Also, I don't really know specifically what holes he's referring to. Probably ones that were propagated on alt-right platforms.
And not say anything.
Did he just suggest that people are trying to silence his voice?
Sit here and accept obvious inconsistencies in a story that has public policy implications and not say anything.
We obviously shouldn't, and I think this is the most important point about all of this, which is how many millions of people have been conditioned to believe that it's immoral or even some kind of reflection of mental illness, like you're a conspiracy theorist, if you don't immediately and unquestionably accept whatever story is told to you by institutions of authority.
Okay. This is what I mean. Like I don't know how much more politics I can take here. I don't even know what to say. It's like that is conspiracy brained, though, right? Now, there's a difference between being speculative and being conspiracy brained. Because being conspiracy brained is engaging in the level of speculation that is taking place with this Paul Pelosi attack. And speculation would be like, oh, well, I wonder what this would have happened, or are they sure they're being honest about that? That's like totally different from engaging in like deep-seated conspiracies that Paul Pelosi's like gay or something. Like there's a Grand Canyon level difference between those 2 points.
And the amazing thing about that, Tucker, is that this framework is being constructed by journalists, people whose primary purpose in life is supposed to be to question and challenge the claims of the powerful, and instead they're demonizing anybody who does so. Skepticism.
I don't understand what he means by demonize. If he means like be like a meanie poo on Twitter or something, then I mean maybe grow a spine. But like I honestly, his standards as a journalist as well is a little weird. I mean, to me, I think the number one thing for a journalist to do would be to give you accurate and reliable information from the best sources, not to challenge power structures.
Itself can never be
because again, like challenging power structures is like a political thing, and journalism really, I mean, it is political in a sense, but like it really should be just giving you reliable and accurate information. And if it happens to overlap with something you disagree with, then I mean, tough shit, deal with it. But like, I disagree with what his standards of a journalist should be, I guess.
Wrong. Skepticism says there's evidentiary holes and there's faulty reasoning in what we're being told. Even if evidence does emerge later on to prove it, the skepticism itself was not just valid, but necessary.
So,
But you're being skeptical about something that is pretty clear cut here. A person broke into the house in an attempt to assassinate a sitting congresswoman, the third most powerful person in the country, and you're being skeptical over like the assault, right? Like, what holes are they referring to? I need to know like specifics, because if I don't have those specifics, then I can't really challenge their points here.
so Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. The Russians blew up their own pipeline. Julian Assange is a criminal. I mean, maybe we're in the habit of just accepting the most ludicrous possible claims and moving on to the next thing. That feels like where we are.
That's really rich coming from the person who espouses great replacement rhetoric.
I mean, I remember, Victoria Nuland, who's the State Department official in charge of Ukraine, went before Congress and said, we're really worried that the U.S. and Ukraine have biological labs that are very dangerous, and if they fall into the Russian hands, it can be a disaster. And anyone who said, wait, what does she mean, was instantly branded a conspiracy theorist. How many people were called conspiracy theorists because they questioned whether the vaccine works the way they were told to work?
What is he talking? Oh, do you guys remember when like Glenn Greenwald retweeted some like anti-Semitic shit on Twitter? I think I went over that. Oh boy, that was a while ago. You can find it in one of my streams, but he was like literally retweeting like Nazi cartoons and Nazi depictions of Jews, and also going after like and also not only did he do that, but he also perpetuated the globo homo conspiracy theory as well. So this is it's I don't know. This is kind of like listening to. I don't even have an analogy to bring up here, because it's like he's so uniquely stupid.
Or anything else. This is what they do, is demonize questioning.
That isn't what's happening though. They're demonizing conspiracy theories, which is happening though.
I think you were on that night. What, biolabs in Ukraine? Shut up, Putin apologist. What?
Now they're doing the Joker laugh because they think they're so much in the right that like this is a justifiable reaction.
Glenn Greenwald.
Is that it?
Like a palate cleanser, the fresh air of sanity coming into the studio. Thank you, Glenn.
God, man, this like the way in which news happens in this country is so fucked, man. Like everything is the same talking points fundamentally when you break it down. Like when you look at the way in which people talk about different like when you look at like how, for example, like when you look at like how conservatives talk about news, it always comes back to the same talking points, the very same ones. So for that one with Majority Taylor Greene that we just watched, she brought in the illegal immigration shit for someone who tried to assassinate a sitting politician, like one of the most powerful people in the country. This is what they brought it back to, right? They brought it back to illegal immigration, bring it back to gun ownership, and then with like the abortion thing, when in Ohio the 13-year-old, 10-year-old girl got raped, they brought that also back. They moved it away from abortion because that would have been the weak argument to make in that circumstance, and they brought it to illegal immigration because the person who had raped this young girl was an illegal immigrant. So it's just like every fucking news thing is the same talking points. It's infinitely boring. It's tiring to always have to like debunk these conspiracy theories. I mean, I don't know. Like what else can I say about it, right? These people are insane. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. Oh god. Oh my god. All right. I mean, I don't really have much else to talk about, honestly. Oh boy. Um. Yeah, I know it's gonna be kind of a short stream today. But that's all right. I'm feeling a little under the weather too, actually. I think last night I had like a cold, or yeah, felt like I had a cold or something. I don't know. Shit. But this is going to be the last stream until next Tuesday. It's going to be election day for many people. I already voted because I'm based. Absentee ballot, and this is my weekly reminder PSA to please go out and vote for Democrats, whatever voting precinct you're in. It's very important to go and vote, especially now. There's a lot of anti-trans legislation that is being passed throughout the country, as well as a bunch of other bad shit. And I highly encourage those who are sympathetic to these causes to consider going out and voting and voting blue. I mean, as cringe and as bad as Democrats are, they are certainly the better alternative to Republicans. So I voted for Democrat across the board, and again, highly encourage everyone else to do the same. And don't let these fucking conservative grifters deceive you, because I do this on a daily, well, not daily, but actually kind of, yeah, on a daily basis. I do it on a daily basis, trying to fight against the rhetoric of conservatives, and just the alt-right in general. But they are very, as I mentioned before, they're very good at spreading misinformation. So I always encourage people to do their due diligence with whatever, but not like from a bad faith perspective, like what Glenn Greenwald would say, because he seems to want to be speculating on things that are like, assassination attempts, right? No, let's do research on policies and let's learn, because learning is cool and fun and based. But that's really my PSA there. Please vote, and also do your due diligence with regards to most things. I think if someone went up to you and said the sky is blue, I don't think you need to do like research on that. You could probably just look up into the sky. Regardless, though, yeah, it's gonna be a short stream, but I've kind of went over what I wanted to go over. I don't think there's anything else really. Okay, well, that's about it for today. But yeah, next time I see you guys, we'll be on the other end of the election, and I don't even know what's gonna happen. TBH, I think the Democrats will lose both the House and Senate. I'm convinced, in fact. It's insane because like conservatives are so obscenely terrible on everything, yet they win like all the time. And that really goes to show you how ineffective and terrible the Democrats are at messaging. So right now, Democrats win 45 and 100 times with the Senate, the majority, that is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking at the thing. Fetterman and Oz right now in Pennsylvania are like a toss-up. It's like may as well flip a coin. I mean, look at this. How does this happen? Let me show you guys. I mean, just look at that graph. It was like a dead heat over here, right? And then that gap widened substantially, and now it just fell off a cliff. It went from 71 to 59. That is a huge swing. And now it's at 53. I don't know if it's because they took their foot off the gas or if Oz has been keeping his mouth shut and like that's helped him. Like I honestly do not know how that happened. Well, regardless, we need to win. We really need to win Pennsylvania. That is like a bare minimum, in my opinion. Georgia, it's rough. If Warnock could win, that would be a surprise. 41 in 100 times isn't insignificant, but like it's still not good enough. Nevada is pretty close. Nevada, Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania are the closest, in my opinion. Tim Ryan is basically not going to win. Yeah, I mean, like, look, how much credence do we want to give to polling is debatable, but every election always comes down to turnout. So, more people that turn out, the more likely the Democrat will be the better candidate there, or win. So, anyway, yeah, I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. So, yep, I will see you guys next week. Again, go out and vote if you can. And I hopefully next time I see you guys, the Republicans will have, or the Democrats will have control of the Senate, because I don't think they'll have control of the House. So yeah. Anyway, see.